Hey there, Blender artists, buckle up, because today, I'm about to show you something that might just change the way you use Blender forever. Imagine creating perfectly smooth, seamless object movements in infinite flow, or however many you choose without touching a single geometry node, force field, or curve. Sounds impossible, right? But it gets crazier. What if I told you that with this technique, if you combine with some other effects and you use it properly, you could create projectiles like fired bullets, floating objects, direct them to any target, and make them flow effortlessly. Remember, no curves, no force fields, no geometry nodes involved. And that's not all. You could even generate tornadoes, snow effects, dynamic environments, things you wouldn't believe could be done this easily. How is it all possible? Stick around and let's get started. Okay, we're in Blender for point 2. All we need is to delete the default cube and set to planes both with particle system modifier. One object will be an emitter while the other will be as the receiver of the particles, but the possibilities are endless, we'll see. All the cool stuff is in this physics option here. But for today, we will focus on this keyed physics option. You can see something strange is happening after keyed physics is enabled. Right, and this is what we need. We just need a little adjustment and we'll be good to go. This relations option is where we set the relationship between two or more particle systems. All object with particle system modifier must be linked with the particle's emitter for this to work, otherwise nothing will work. To link the relationship, just look what I'm doing. Also in this relationship option is where you will decide the direction of the movement of particles between objects that have particle system. You can see as soon as I set relationship, this happens. This means that the particles from emitter object will follow the other particles wherever they go until they intersect. That's where they will stop moving at all. Let me reduce number of particles for you to see better. Remember, this only happens when the objects have different particle systems. We will see what happens when both objects share the same particle system. But for now, you need to understand this as it might be useful in some cases in your projects. Hope you get me what I mean. So this only happens when the objects have different particle systems. Don't forget that. Okay, now let's make these objects share single particle system. The particle system to be shared must be that of emitter for this to work properly. Don't mix these as they might confuse you when you got many particle systems in the scene. You can see if these objects shares the same particle system, the receiver object won't let the particles fall. Instead, they will stick on its surface and wait for the other particles to come to collide with it so as they can both disappear. Now pay a close attention to these values here under emission tab because these affect the particles' movement and interaction. These values are very important as they can decide whether the particles to be smooth or something, so pay a close attention to always get results you have in your mind if you use this technique in your projects. Guys, if you have noticed, the system is ultra dynamic in case you change any of the particles object. This is awesome. Okay, now I'm going to explain every single values under emission tab how they will affect the particles movement in this keyed physics. Number controls how many particles move toward the target. Start wind sets when particles start and stop emitting. Lifetime, how long particles exist before disappearing. Emit from decides the origin of particle emission phases, vertices, etc. Random order, particles move randomly instead of in sequence. Seed randomizes particle behavior for variety. Jittered adds randomness to particle start positions for a more natural look. If you change the source of emission, as you can see the particles changes where they get emitted. Sometimes you can use this option here to have maximum control of the time it takes for the particles to reach the other object. I can say a receiver anyway, so by adjusting this time here, you can adjust the particles' time. Also, you can use a single vertex as emitter source. I just merged the plane here. Now let's see velocity, how it affects as the particles in this keyed physics. I'll change the view a little to explain this to you, as it's easier to work with these velocities when you are in exact axis view no particles velocity control. This guys, I don't want to tell you about how this option is important, but you need to put this in your mind. This is the most important part, as it's the one which controls the shape for the particles to move, how they should move whether scattered or together. In short, this is where all magic happens. Just see how they affect the particles when I adjust these velocities. Let me explain a little bit just in case. Normal controls particle speed based on the surface's normal direction. Higher values equals faster along normals. Tangent moves particles along the surface tangentially, like sliding along the surface. Tangent phase adjusts the direction of the tangent movement. Object align makes particles move in the direction of the emitting object's axis x, y, z. Randomize adds randomness to the initial velocity, giving more chaotic movement. Also, you can enable this rotation and adjust the way your object's instance will be rotating while moving. This adds some realism, so consider it. Sometimes the receiver may get these particles stuck on it something, which you may not need. So to fix this, you need to disable visibility of the object in object data properties here. Make sure you disable it in renders for it to not appear in final renders too. The good thing about particles system is that you can use collection of objects to be as an instant something, which makes this technique very powerful. Just select your object to put in collection, then press M key SC create collection for your objects. Name the collection whatever you want. After that, choose your collection as particles instances. Now you can see all of your collection are emitted, but still you got control through these options here. I think they explain themselves what they do. Right. Sometimes you can hover mouse to the option you don't understand what it does. You can try for these options and see what they tell you. Right, they are cool anyway. The good thing also is that if you selected the collection like this and then you add a new object, THT object will directly be included in the particles system. So no matter how your collection is, it will be included in the stream of particles seamlessly. Not for the text object, the case is different. So you will be needed to convert the text to mesh for it to be included in a collection. Okay, now let's do something different just in case you can't put objects in a single collection, like these flowers from Botanic Garden. Link in description if you need it. These flowers are already in collection, so you cannot place them normally in a new collection and expect them to work in your particle system. So for these, you can only use a single flower if you use its collection. Otherwise, if you need to use them both, you will need multiple particle systems to simulate them. And that's what I'm going to show you, how you can deal with multiple particle system. It's easy, just don't miss a point. To add multiple systems, just press that plus key, but before that, make sure you select the emitter object, because that's where we are supposed to add these multiple systems and not otherwise. So if you add the new particle system, all you need to do is to set up everything as I show you here, and make sure you set the relations properly for OT to work. As you can see now, you have two systems, so you must make sure you select the system you want to adjust its particles flow. Otherwise, you will mess the particles and get the flow you don't need. Basically, the trick here is to ensure that every collection has its own particle system, since Blender does not allow multiple collections in a single particle system. So put this in your main too. You only need one particle system for the particle receiver object. Keep that in mind, it might confuse you sometimes. Then you can treat the system as usual. Look at these movement. The way these flowers flow feels so smooth, guys. It's like we use some physics simulation. How cool is that, guys? This trick is so powerful, as you can see no any scary geometry nodes, which might creep you out. No force fields, it's just the particle system. This is insane, guys. Tell me what you think about this trick in comment section. I really love to hear your thoughts about this. Just see all the possibilities you can do with this technique. No nodes involved here, remember, so you can imagine the way this technique is powerful. Also, the effect of these particles will be cool if and only if you play well with the velocity section and some half-life adjustments. It's only that no mathematics or force fields needed to achieve this cool effect without using geometry nodes. These particle systems, they are fluid enough, and the good thing is that the system of these particles always moves in a non-destructive manner. As you have seen, you can change the position of the emitter, but still the particles adjust themselves so smooth without even glitching out. Again, the good thing about this trick is that it doesn't stress CPU that much as compared to geometry nodes. So we can say if you do the same effect using geometry nodes, you will find out that geometry nodes use the CPU much to calculate complex mathematics to output the effect. I agree that using geometry nodes you have much control to the effect in this trick, which has some limitations as far as I know. Guys, actually these movements are super smooth. Just look at this masterpiece. You can see these icons. They are like television, I wonder, but they are a lifesaver. In case you have many particle systems like mine here, these TVS helps you to enable and disable a particle system at the moment, so you can have a better idea of your particle systems when you use this. As slow, don't forget that you can name your particle system, so don't forget that since by naming your systems, it will be much easier for you to navigate. The limitation of this technique as far as I know is this S shape. No matter how you push the values, it will stuck in this shape. So to tackle this, you will have to use curves as the path for the particles to follow, and that curve must have the force field that will be attracting these particles. It might be useful, but it won't be as natural as this. But if anyone knows the better way you can share, we'll meet in comment section below, or if I get the way earlier, I will upload it sometimes just to showcase it. I think I have forgotten to show you how you can decide which object to have the target or the receiver of the particles, so you just need to focus on this relation hip tab, nothing special. I hope this video was helpful. If you enjoyed it, please do me a favor, hit the like button and drop any suggestions or thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what's on your mind, and I will be happy to respond. Your support really motivates me to keep creating these tutorials. Also, consider subscribing to the channel for more exciting Blender and 3D content. Thanks for watching. Remember, eat, render, repeat. Creativity knows no bounds. Happy rendering.